Saw a lot of movies between like August to December, and those were all of those. Let's get into it. Oh, that's crooked. Oh well, fuck it. Do you feel like crying? Huh? It's a banger. DreamWorks has been on a banger. Their animated films, you know, it's the Sony animated stuff, and it's DreamWorks. They're doing bangers. It's so heartwarming. The story, I love. You know what the best part about this film is? It's the opening. It's the opening part. Sometimes like movies just take too long to get to the point. Like they like do like so much setup, and it's just like, nah, man, this film drops you in. And it's awesome. It's great, especially for a kids' film. It's so like the characters and the heart. You can tell like this guy directed like the How to Train Your Dragon franchise because it just oozes like that aura. You know, watch this film with your mum. I think that's like the best thing I can give this film. I mean, this one does have a tad pacing problem. Maybe at the end, like the last act kind of feels, it starts up something and resolves it by the end of the film. Like, you know, halfway it's like, oh, here's another plot to like push it forward. And that's fine. I like, you know, there definitely feels like moments where this film could have ended. I mean, and then, you know, more is not bad, right? This is an order of like when I saw them. So, you know, I'm recording these at the start of the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. I don't have any confetti. But yeah, so this film, easy. You know, 5 out of 5. It's a banger. It's a kids movie, but it's a fun kids movie, man. Like you'll be glad you watched it. You probably won't need to watch it like, you know, every year or something like that. But, you know, the humor is perfect. There's parts that make me laugh. There's parts that make me cry. There's parts that make me, you know, feel. Just got off to a good start. We're off to a good start. The next couple, however, I am. Let's have a look. What's the likelihood these are going to fall? I didn't think we'd be overlapping already. Whoops. These films are all kind of hard to talk about. You got Joker 2, Electric Boogaloo. It's confusing. There's something about this film that I just can't put my finger on. You know, the internet has like jumped down this movie's throat and said it was bad and it was pointless, and I agree, right? I agree to them, and it's not great, right? But on like a deeper level, like put the tinfoil hat on. This movie is not a badly made film, right? Joker 2, it's not bad. You know, all your performances are good, your costumes are good, your overall production is good. The musical numbers are fine. I mean, it's like you could have, if you're going to be a musical, be a full musical. You know what I mean? Like, be a big and grandiose, but it kind of just feels like we're just going to put some songs in there and it's fine. But yeah, my game theory is there's too much correctly made things for it to be not intentional. Like, I had to, if you do so much right and then the product ends up being bad, you designed it to be bad. You know, am I stupid? It's the story. See, the story is the thing that everyone has issue with, right? I don't think anyone's saying that anything else is bad. And I felt like that when watching it in the movie. So like, I was appreciating how good everything was, but I could tell it was tiptoeing around itself from the first one, you know, because the first one is this like big setup of like this, you know, downtrodden character, and it wants to keep that momentum, but it also doesn't want to say anything more until right at the end. And the stuff it says right at the end is stupid again, but I think it's intentional. And I'm not trying to like, you know, glaze this film or anything like that. Oh no, it's really starting to fall. But like, you know, halfway through, I start to lose the being in the moment kind of thing of like movies, right? And you start to notice this guy smokes so many cigarettes. Like, in the edit, I might do a quick count of how many times this guy smokes. It's like enough to the point, like every scene he has a cigarette in his mouth. I swear. Spoilers. Stabs. Some random guy just stabs him. And it's just like, that was it. And then the movie just ends. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, but I reckon this was just his way of trying to get out of just sequel hell. I think Todd Phillips is going to make some indie bangers in the next couple of years because he's got kicked out the fucking the big boy shop. Right? Joker 2, as a film, it's like a 2. But if you want to look deeper behind the curtain, that's like a 3 out of 5 on like a, like a big brainy moment. That one, I'm not happy about that one. Megalopolis. Again, it's one of those ones where it's like the bigger picture is actually better than the product itself. Much like Joker 2, the Jokening. The Megalopolis was an experience, right? An experience I had in a cinema. And an experience that I probably will never have in my own house because I had to buy a ticket. It's like when you buy a ride on a roller coaster. You go for the whole way, and I was in it for the whole way, and I don't think I would be taking this train all the way if I was at home because I didn't have to pay anything. Or, the price of admission is, just click next, right? That's your way off. This film is Stockholm Syndrome as cinema. This movie is boring, this movie is bad, and you can pretty much get that in the first 20 minutes of this. And it's 2.5 hours long. It's not short. It only gets worse, though. After that 20-minute stretch, it only just gets worse and worse. It's worse. It's like trudging through mud, and the mud gets deeper and thicker, and you have to be some type of lunatic like myself to get enjoyment out of that, right? I want to tell you the story about Megalopolis, but even I, someone who sat through the 2 hours and 30 minutes of runtime this was, couldn't tell you exactly what happens, right? There's so many moments where it's so full of itself and incomprehensible. Scene in the movie where they're interviewing Adam Driver's character, and they cut the aspect ratio, and because this was in your indie theaters originally, and then it went to a full theatrical release. Surprised. There's meant to be a scene where an actor in real life will come up and look at this big and then interview him and interact. It has actually no relevance to the plot at all. Adam Driver gets shot in the face by a child, and you have Shia LaBeouf in drag and John Voight shooting Shia LaBeouf, who is still in drag, in the ass with a crossbow. And you still manage to make that movie bad? This movie will get shown in Discord servers over some drinks, and that is the best praise I could give this film. With a good group of people, this film could be fun. There are better films in this so bad it's good genre. You like The Room and Birdemic and these campy fucking nothing. But this will be in that genre. It's not good, but it's funny. On a bad as good scale, it's a 2 out of 5, There'll be moments in there you're like, what? Look, if you want a full actual breakdown of this film, subscribe, do the thing, and I'll watch this again and I'll give you the entire rundown. But that's only if you guys want it, right? Besides that, if you're thinking about watching the solo, don't hate yourself. Venom. This is the best Venom out of the trilogy. Not a hard win, really, but a win nonetheless. We'll give it to Venom. Congratulations, Venom. Congratulations. Oh. Venom 3, Venom Goes to Vegas for about 5 minutes, is the perfect amount of dumb fun. Does it underutilize its big villain? He's a Thanos level villain in a trilogy of underwhelming Sony films. Absolutely he does. Hands down. I don't think anyone was expecting it to be some big explosive kind of no, it wasn't that. Is it full of plot holes? Oh god, yes. But again, if you want a full breakdown, I can do a full breakdown, but it's full of them, right? But it has this right amount of just cheekiness to it, you know what I mean? It's just I'm a bit stupid, and you're yeah, you are, and you're kind of with that. The movie makes me want to fight it. The movie brought something out in me, brought a take that I now can't unsee. And it all has to do with this lightning lady. She gets shown maybe about the first couple of minutes in the film, and she gets a whole backstory. A whole backstory in the third film in your franchise. She hasn't been in the first one or the second one. You give her a full backstory. People don't care. They don't care about her. And she gets zapped by lightning, and she's friends with Venom, and they're best friends, and they kiss. They don't kiss, but you know what I mean. They're it feels so fanficky. It feels like it was a self-insert written character. I know she exists as a character in the grand scheme of the Venom universe. Don't come after me. But in this film, They've written her character as in this like self-insert OC, and it's ridiculous and it's stupid. And when I noticed that, the whole movie feels like a fanfic. And when I noticed that pretty much every sequel that is a sequel to a film that's like, you know, that was good, and there's a sequel that's not as good, it feels like a fanfic. And then I just had a meltdown, and I'm sitting in the theater, and I'm just like, oh man. And, you know, meanwhile, Venom's doing the funny. This movie lives in my head rent-free because of that, and I hate it for that. There's also other parts, you know, that, and then it's that lightning chick, but then it's also like this random family that joins in to make Venom feel like, you know, grounded in reality, and they're stupid and very funny. And then it's like, yeah, and then they end up in Area 51? You kidding? Like, it does get again, there is a little bit of cheek to this, and I kind of respect it. And it's like, you know, you get to the big climactic battle, and like, you know, Venom is, sorry, again, spoilers, presumed dead. Venom, not Eddie. Venom, like the goo, the goo is presumed dead, right? And then Eddie's sad, and he's playing, and it's like a TikTok montage. You know, it's a fan edit of like Eddie and Venom. It's like 2015 musically. It's like got like, you know, the fade in and the fade out and the like the sad music. It's Memories, you know. I don't know who sings Memories, but you know the one. Like when you think of a sad TikTok song, and that shit, you know, at the post credit scene. Again, it's spoilers. Venom is a cockroach. He's not even dead, and so it undermines the entire plot of the film. And I in my head think Venom cock, and it's great. Made me laugh. It's a middle of the road. It's a 3 out of 5. Like, it's the best one out of the Venom trilogy. It's entertaining in like a cynical kind of way for me, right? You might enjoy it. It's not that bad, but it's whatever. And finally, Hugh Grant. Heretic made me mad as well. Right, I'm a feeling kind of guy. Because only 20 minutes into this film, I thought to myself, oh, it's going to be one of those horror movies with a disappointing third act. And it was! I was correct! Yippee! But I'm mad that I'm correct. You know what I mean? Like, the start of this movie is actually very fun. Like, again, this one I'm going to pretty much give you a very healthy plot synopsis. 2 Mormon girls, they go into Hugh Grant's house, and Hugh Grant is a fucking weirdo. And he talks about religion, and he talks about, you know, he just yaps. He yaps, and he talks these 2 girls' ears off about religion, right? And, you know, obviously they're Mormons, so they're like, let's talk about religion. And so he's creepy and weird, and it's entertaining for the first, like, maybe half an hour. It just 180s to, like, this, like, I'm evil now, and I'm gonna kill you. And it's just like, like, commit to one thing, I think, is this movie's issue. It's like, be a full psychological thriller, right? If you want to tell this story about a creepy weirdo and 2 Mormon girls, and they're having just conversations, and he's just being odd, and I think that's all you needed to be. Just have him be so unnerving, and have them just get like this more and more, and build that anxiety, and that's it. And then they just leave, and they're traumatized, but he did nothing wrong, and that's a weirdo. Like, I feel like that's like a more authentic experience, especially for like someone who, you know, does... No, I don't do it, but, you know, like, I'm sure people who door knock about religion will get weirdos like that who just yap. And they yap, and they make you feel crazy, like, they make you feel uncomfortable. And then he starts saying some, like, really fucked up shit. And, you know, again, nothing explicit, but, I don't know, this movie I just feel like it had a good element, but then it just went, nah, man, I'm just gonna make him evil and start killing people and whatever. It's like, don't do that, man. Don't do that. We have enough of those dudes. And the good parts of this film will end up on TikTok, and all the comments will be like, oh my god, what is this film? Oh my god, name please. And obviously the TikTok guys don't put the name in there to increase engagement, whatever. But that's like the highest praise, you know? Chuck the good parts next to Subway Surfer and Hugh Grant being weird, and it's fun. And those are the good parts, but then you get to the rest of the horror movie part, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Look, I'm gonna give most horror films with disappointing endings a 2 out of 5 because you can tell that it's gonna be a disappointing ending pretty early, and then you just kind of sat through, just going, "Oh man, it's gonna be disappointing." Yeah, so it's like a 2. You know, horror fans, you know, you spooky guys might think different. Wicked. Here's a story, a real conversation, if you will, I had with an older gentleman, maybe in his late 60s, right? Like, this was while we were, like, waiting in the cinema foyer, right? The old man will be played by Green Hat, and me on this side, okay? Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you excited for the new Wicked?" Yeah, man, I'm pretty excited. I haven't seen, like, the musical or anything. I don't know much about it, but, you know, I'm sure they'll do a good job. Yeah, I saw it in, like, West End. It was, you know, it was great. So I saw it while I was in New York. It was a great time. I loved it. It was like the best thing, best musical, best lab production I've ever seen. Oh, cool, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm excited for this movie too, but I have a fear that they're going to make this movie all woke and they're going to add some, like, gay agenda in there. And there's already 2 female leads. Like, you don't need to make it woke. They just need to make it like they did in the 90s and 80s. They just need to make this like a real raw film. Yeah, for sure, man. That was a real conversation I had. Wild. Anyway, I just thought I had to put that in there. This one, I could have gone either way. You know, again, in that sketch, I have not seen the musical. Like, before this movie even came out, I had this conception that it was going to make $1 billion. And it was only because theater kids were going to see it 8 times over and then tell them it was bad because, you know, they were going to nitpick the heck out of the entire film. And that's what I thought was going to make them $1 billion. And, you know, honestly, it hasn't made $1 billion. But I'm surprised it hasn't, honestly. So part 2 will probably push this franchise into $1 billion. And that'll be cool. Good, because this movie, I think, is actually very fun. I think it's good. It's Dune quality, but for the girlies. You know, it's the Dune Part 1 and the Dune Part 2. It's that, but for the girlies. You know, it doesn't mislead the audience by saying, but, you know, by not having Part 1 as part of, like, your promotional stuff. Yeah, a little bit. If Part 2 is not going to come out next year, this movie could end and it could be a fine movie on its own. A fine movie. So I understand why some people are like, it feels a little bit bloated. But obviously, because you know there's going to be a part 2, you're like, okay, this is all this, like, some of this stuff is set up. And then obviously there's payoff at the end. But all your characters are fun. Your writing's good. Your music, like, your musicality is good. Like, all your music is fun. I mean, there is one song maybe at the start of the film where, like, Alphaba does, like, a full song. Like, a full, you know, 3.5 minute song. And she, like, pauses for, like, a tad too long, expecting there to be, like, an applause. And I'm, you know, like, yeah, if it was live, yeah, you definitely would get a clap, you know, like it was, but it was funny because she kind of just was like, and then obviously it keeps going, but, you know, there's like a half-second pause where you're like expecting them to, like, you know, finger snap or do a little clap or something, and it was just like, it made me giggle. This movie is good. I remember sitting in the cinema and, like, you know, the end credits came up. Sorry, spoilers. And it goes, "To be continued." And I just go, nice. I just let out a very loud, audible, like, good job, you know? Like, I'll be there for the next one. You sold me on another ticket in a year's time. But this film as a whole is hard to judge because, again, it is a 2-parter, so, you know, project, like, you know, if part 2 is shit, this might make this one not as good. I don't think so, but, you know, I think it's like a 4 out of 5. It might be, you know, and if the other one's a 4 out of 5, I think that boosts it up to like a 5 out of 5. I think that's how I'm gonna, like, hold Wicked Part 1. It's a 4 out of 5. It's very well done. So these next 5 films I'm gonna put up are kind of a blur because I decided to do something very stupid. Okay, so these next 5 films, kind of a blur because I decided to do them in a 15-hour sitting. You know, I went from cinema to cinema. So they're from 10 o'clock in the morning, 12:30 that night. So yeah, so about like 14 and a half hours, right? Wild. Anyway, so yeah, starting off the day at 10 o'clock, we started off with Kraven. Let's get cravey. This is a guilty pleasure movie, man. Like, Aaron Taylor Johnson he's just a guy. You know, him in Bullet Train, him in Kick-Ass, him in, you know, all your good, like, fun. He's a fun presence. Him in Fall Guy was even... No, Gladiator, no! Yeah, so Kraven the Hunter, let's get Quavy, is if Princess Mononoke meets Death Note, meets Black Panther, meets The Room. That is the combination of films I got from this movie. This movie's outrageous, and it's perfect. It's perfectly just unfinished. It's perfectly just... I don't want to say self-aware, but I don't want to say it is not self-aware. This is the perfect send-off to the Sonyverse. R.I.P. Sonyverse. Died as it lived. Half-baked and shit. But this is the best one. It is incompetent. The CGI is... something out of 2010. Something out of, like, the Scorpion King. The continuity shots are often... Oh, my God. The amount of times they'll, like, you know, have a shot that's like this. And then they'll cut... and then the hair's like that, and you're like, oh man, I noticed that. I'm noticing the fuck up, you know, on a editorial or on a set design or whatever level. Like, you can notice them, and they're hilarious. And as well as, like, the ADR, like the voiceover, you know, like, obviously if you can't do the scene together, or there's, like, the lines aren't correct or whatever, you just ADR it in. It's hilarious. You know, there's so many times there'll be, like, you know, two people standing here, and they'll be side on, and you can just tell that they're not speaking the same. It's like, oh man, it's not good. It's very funny. I get a kick out of these sorts of films though. Like, this is, like, very much like me core. Like, there's something about that just, like, tickles that little goofy, funny haha in my brain. It's not a Borderlands. Fuck Borderlands. That movie was ass. But this is, like, the perfect amount of, like, unpolished effort. Like, 98% of films, you know, will get edited down to hell, and they'll be the best version of themselves. And the 2% are Kraven. They just forgot to do any of that. In this movie, right, you have, like, a lot of different, like, villains. I mean, even Kraven's a villain, but, you know, Rhino is the villain. And he steals the show, man. He's got, like, PS3 level CGI. His overacting is just perfect. Like, there's a scene where he just slams his hand on the table and just does, like, a mighty cry. And it's just, like, that's the parts that I'm loving. Oh, and the dialogue. Oh, mwah. My grandma died in the Amazon, and that was the last time I ever saw her. Like, no shit, that was the last time you saw her. What the fuck? Kraven the Hunter is, like, The Room for superheroes. Well, maybe not The Room for superheroes, but he's definitely up there. And I think it's, like, a 4 out of 5 on that, like, you know, so bad it's good kind of way. I think I enjoyed it. I only saw it once, and it was the first thing in the morning, and so I was very hilarious. That's all that mattered. And then so we went straight from Kraven, and then we went down to Moana 2. And Moana 2, she bad. Did not like Moana 2. This reeks of that fanficky, like, what new can we add to the story that was pretty much, like, tied off, essentially. And this has straight to, like, yeah, Disney Plus or straight to DVD. And I know this was, like, I know the stuff behind this movie where it was meant to be a Disney Plus TV series, and they decided it wasn't going to make enough money, so they put it into, instead of being 6 episodes of, like, probably like 30 minutes, they chopped it up and made it into an hour and a half long movie. And you can feel that throughout the film. It's like, it kind of, like, rides that, like, 20 minutes, and then it kind of, like, sets up another one, and 20 minutes and sets up another one, and it just rides like that, like a wave. Oh my god, Moana. And, you know, obviously The Rock's not in it as much as well, and the music's not as good. I'm not saying that having The Rock in it would have made it better, but, you know, those two are on the poster, and maybe, like, he's in it 30% of the film. I think the standout part of this movie, though, is, like, this thing that really saves it is when I was in the cinema, the power cut out. And they had to reboot the whole system. There's something about the visuals that I just didn't get, right? There was just so much visual movement, and it was just like jingling keys. That's what it felt like. It felt like there's so many moving objects, so it kept my attention, but I wasn't happy about it. And I think it's because, and I know you're on the water, so there is that like everything's moving kind of scenario, but there wasn't enough things that like still that I could draw my attention to and like connect with. Everything was moving, and they have the minionification of little coconut dudes. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, like, look, it does pick up maybe like your last 10, 15 minutes kind of sets up some fun stuff. And that's interesting, and they give us like a Thanos style villain. Oh, that's funny. That gave me a good laugh. But besides that, this movie just made me mad. Like, I just sat there and I was just like, the music's not good. The visuals are really just bugging me. Maybe that's a me issue. And as a 24-year-old man, why didn't I love this movie? It's a 1 out of 10. Look, but this movie so far has made like $900 million or something like that. So, what do I know? Maybe art is dead. I don't know. So, no break. We went from Kraven to Moana to Gladiator 2. And man, that's whiplash, going from Moana to Gladiator 2. This movie is good. It's good. Have I seen the original Gladiator? No. Have I, do I want to see the original Gladiator? I've seen Gladiator 2. I've seen Gladiator 2. I don't need to see Gladiator 1. It's pretty much, from what I've heard, the skeleton of Gladiator 1. Am I missing out by only seeing this one? Yeah, they reference it and they talk about it and everything else, but I'm like, I got the idea of what happened in Gladiator 1. I actually enjoyed this more than someone who would have seen the original, just because it's like, it's been 10, 20 years since the OG one. And again, it does have that fanfic element to it, because I didn't see the first one. They kind of like talk it at you and they give you flashbacks of the original one. And I'm like, oh, I'm caught up to speed now. You know what I mean? But for someone who's seen the original, they might find that annoying and pandering and like, I know that what's going on. Tell me more and give me more story, whatever. But from the moment I saw Paul Mescal's face, he was mewing ever so slightly. And I turned to my friend who was also on this journey with me of seeing 5 films. And I went, is he going to be mewing this entire film? And he was. It was only slightly. He was only doing like this, kind of talking to like pursed lips, but just a little bit, not like. I can't mew. Obviously, I got no fucking jaw, but you know what I mean. He was. I'll do the rest of this part with like that little like raised cheek inflection that he has. Right? It's not a bad job. He didn't do a bad job, but he kind of just had like the blue steel-fication on his face. And again, I didn't hate this film. He kind of had like this very basic structure of like revenge and like the path of revenge and like that type of stuff in a Roman setting. The fights are fun. The setting is good. I think Ridley Scott as a director, I've seen some of his other films. I saw Napoleon last year, and he just doesn't know how to end a film. Really good film, and then it's just 40 minutes of just them trying to figure out how to end it and the perfect place, and it's just like a real drag. Spoilers. Pedro Pascal, the main villain, is not the main villain. Right? When he dies, it feels like that movie should have kind of started to end. And then at some point in those 40 minutes, they make the monkey the president or like vice president, and then I was out. You know what I mean? I know it's meant to be some type of historical accuracy, but I was out. I was like, this is silly. And then so I just spent the entire time just having a little giggle. Maybe again it's because I spent the last 4 hours watching that and that. If you like the first one, you'll probably say it was unnecessary and the same but worse, and give it a 2 out of 5. But I'm gonna say it's like a 3 out of 5, right? And only because of those last 40 minutes was a real drag. If there wasn't if it wasn't for those last 40 minutes, it'd probably be like a 4. It ends up being like a 3 as a complete package. Then we saw Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim. And this one was disappointing, man. As a concept, it was fun. It was like anime Lord of the Rings. There was a female protagonist, but it felt so flat. I'm going to have to spoil this one too, so, spoilers. Basic plot is the king and his daughter, they've run like over the kingdom, right? And the lesser king, he comes up and he goes, hey, marry my son, your daughter, marry my son. And he goes, oh, hell nah. And the lesser king goes, all right, catch me outside. How about that? And the king says, all right, bet. Boom. One taps him. Kills him flat. Hilarious. Awesome. So fun. And then the lesser king's son, he goes full incel Redditor mode and starts a war. It's the funniest shit ever. And then obviously the king dies. And then, she has to like take up the mantle and go fight. See, fun, right? Not enough of that. The daughter has to fight the fedora man. It's a fun fight, but it's only like, at the very end, and it's like, if we could have just had more of those like conflicts throughout the entire film, because a lot of the time, and a big issue I have with this film is the main protagonist. I can't remember her name. I've seen all these other films. I can't remember anyone's name except for maybe Moana, because her name's in the fucking title. But her entire arc of this entire film is like, we must run. And then, she goes, oh, please stop. And then she goes, okay, fine, I'll fight you. And then she fights him and wins. And it's like, oh man, just like, it's so disappointing, because I see the potential in there. And like, even in Lord of the Rings, there's incels, and that's hilarious. And this film's like it's so sad, but it's like a 1. It's like a 1 out of 5. But when they release the 5-hour cut, like they do with all the other Lord of the Rings stuff, it's like a 3. But when they release the 3.5-hour version of this film, it'll be like a 3. It's just disappointing. And the bonus fifth film in this saga was Pusha 2. Now, at the very end of this marathon, we decided to watch a 3.5-hour long Bollywood film, Pusha 2. Have I seen Pusha 1? Take a guess. No. This is my first Bollywood film that I've seen like start to finish. Like, obviously, I know what Bollywood films are, but I can now say I'm cultured. Yippee! This film is wild, almost feeling like 3 films in one, from a guy that loves his wife so much that he overthrows a government just because the president did not want a photo with it, to his like underground redwood syndicate importing business. I don't know. And then it's a sad story about his past and how he's like finally been accepted, and he was a bastard child leading to like a wedding with like a bomb in like the bouquet, like the bouquet arrangement at the wedding has a bomb in it, and then that goes off, and that leads into Pusha 3, which I'm here for. This movie is fun. It's a fun time. This movie's long. It's long, 3.5 hours, and it holds your attention the whole time. Like there's so much going on, whether it be like your editing or your acting, or because it's a subtitle film and I don't know Hindi, all the crazy multiple dance sequences or the fight sequences. There's a lot going on, right? And I feel like they keep kind of sometimes they don't always connect, and I feel a bit like sometimes. But when they do connect, I'm definitely like, this is a good time. It's an interesting experience, right? Definitely like a standout. Like, I'm not gonna like spoil too many of these films. Scene in Pushpa. So Pushpa is like the guy, right? He takes his wife's foot, right? And he spices it up, puts some like salt and pepper on it. That was a bit like of sexual tension. And I was like, okay, suck a toe. Sure, that's fine. But no, he rubs it under his beard. Like he like takes the foot and he like rubs it under his beard. And somehow that is worse than sucking on a toe. I don't know how that's worse, but it just is. And then that somehow turns on his wife, and then they fuck, right? But it's all in an interpretive dance sex scene, and that's so funny, because they're doing like the big Bollywood numbers, and they're all like talking about having sex, but obviously they're not having sex, and that's very funny. Anyway, the fight scenes as well. There's a scene where he like Five Nights at Freddy's 2 jump scares the fucking one of the guys, and that's very funny. This film is an experience. It's definitely one that I was very surprised by. And again, delirious after 10 hours of content, but it's fine. It's like a 4. It's like a 4 out of 5. It definitely go into it with some friends. Bet your ass I'll be there for Pusha 3. Well, if you couldn't tell, that's the new Wallace and Gromit film that's on Netflix at the moment. They did a theatrical release. I was super excited. I'm a big Wallace and Gromit head. Hold up. I like Wallace and Gromit, right? It's the little British dog and the man, and it's just fun. This is my nostalgic one, all right? I like this film. This film is exactly what it needed to be. I'm glad I got to see it in theaters. I'm glad I just got to sit in an audience with people. This movie was at 40, 50 people at 10 o'clock in the morning. And that was crazy. But this film still holds all its perfect British humor from the OG stuff. And I don't want to spoil too much because please, if it's on Netflix and you like Wallace and Gromit, just go watch it. It's fun. And it does that perfect. Wallace is the comic relief and Gromit is this straight man. Yes, it does suffer from the minionification of like the little gnome dudes. Like there's like the minionification of that. Thank you, Despicable Me. I love you. That's great. I love that everything needs a little mascotty minion now. But you know, your British humor is just on peak. You know, this is not like a belly laugh, like you'll have tears running down your face. This is like a ho ho, you know, while drinking your tea kind of laugh. And that's exactly what I need sometimes. You know, it's not. It does this like perfect balance. And this little fucking dude, this little chicken, this little penguin is the best villain, like the best designed villain, and the best villain just period. He's like he's menacing but not threatening, but also is threatening at the same time, and he doesn't say a single word, and you just know he's up to something devious, and it's just look. Yes, this is my nostalgic pick, but go watch it. It's a 5 out of 5. Like it's a 5 out of 5, man. That's really full. Oh well. Mufasa. If I had stopped at Wallace and Gromit, it would have been a pretty good send-off to this bunch of films and the year as a whole, because Mufasa was the last film I saw of 2024. But no, I had to see a last-minute film to waste an hour and a half and destroy my little like send-off to 2024. This movie makes me mad. It makes me so mad, but only because of shots that like make me kind of sick. Shots that are like this. Like they're running and they look like this. And it's like, why? Who thought that's a good idea? It's really disorientating, actually. It's not even like those shots. It's like the insert of like Timon and Pumbaa, and like they're like retelling the story to like a young Simba, like a young I don't know, Simba's kid, right? And I'm like, I get it, but like, yeah, just tell the story. You're not Princess Bride. Like you don't have that in you to do that. This constant like referencing to like the Lion King of just like shot, like very similar shots, and like, you know, like the theming, and it's just like, it doesn't feel natural. It feels like, you remember the Lion King, right? You remember the Lion King, right? You remember the Lion King, right? It just feels like that. And then you got Lin-Manuel Miranda's being Lin-Manuel Miranda's. You've got your songs just kind of being fine. Brother, that's like all around TikTok right now, is okay. It's very repetitive. You've got the villain song, which is just stupid, and I hate it. And I don't know, one of the songs at the very start of this film was like weirdly like leveled, and I couldn't hear the woman lion, like Mufasa's mom. I couldn't hear her singing, and I don't know if that was just like a mixing issue or the cinema I was in, but whatever, right? It was just like really hard to like listen to, because I was like, what am I supposed to be paying attention to? As a story, it's just not very good. Like, Mufasa commits a genocide. It's implied that there's no more white lions because of Mufasa, right? That's what they're trying to say? Maybe I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking too hard about this, but sure. Like, and I'm orked. I'm like, I don't know why I'm so mad about this one in particular, but like this like forced love triangle between like Sarabi and Mufasa and Taka. I mean, yeah, Scar, right? It's like that forced love triangle in like the second act, and it's so. They don't even interact with each other, really, like Taka and Sarabi, and they don't even interact, and it's just like, it's just so annoying. Like a plot out of like the 2000s, you know, where it's like forcing like this love triangle to like start something. It's a very just generic feeling story. It feels like a fanfic. Everything is a fanfic. Why? It's like a 1. Like, people will go see it. It probably won't. Hopefully it doesn't make its money back, but it will. So all the movies I saw between like, I don't know, like October to like December. Probably about right. August to December. I have a lot more. I'm gonna see a lot more cinema like next year. There's so much more stuff that I'm like excited for, and stuff that I'll just go see. If you want to see more of this, like and subscribe. If you want to see more hot takes, or you want to see me break down any of these films in particular, let me know, because I can do a big deep dive, like especially Megalopolis and like probably Venom as well, which is really stupid. Yeah, but if you like, and again, I don't just do movie stuff. I also do gaming stuff too. So if you like your gaming stuff, I do, your indie stuff as well. I do have a lot of hot takes. If you want to hear some hot takes, I think I'm going to do some more like spicy stuff. Really get into the weeds of it. Not spicy as in porn. But thanks, guys. So if you enjoyed any of these, or if you have opinions on any of these, make sure to leave them in the comments below. If you liked any of these and you think I'm stupid, I'd like to have that conversation as well. Oh, here I am. Hello. Again, I'll probably see more films in the new year, and I'll probably do one every 3 months or so, and just kind of get them all out. Unless I see like a bunch all at once, and I'll just put them all up. But yeah, okay. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. You're all the best. And yeah, like, subscribe, do the thing. Peace.